I know we've talked about expectations a lot, right? Because it's a huge Achilles heel of yours are these expectations. And I wanted to say, okay, let me go in again for a few minutes and let me talk deeper into why you got to expect nothing and you'll gain everything. I know that's a hard concept. That's my Buddhist practice. But when you let go of things, right? Go back and listen to the detachment podcast or watch it. It's one or the other. But when you detach, it is one of the most priceless things ever. Seriously, you're not going to understand it until you really detach. It doesn't mean you're apathetic. It doesn't mean you don't have emotion. It doesn't mean you don't have feelings. It doesn't mean that you're like this jerk. No, that's not what that means. That means that you're just not attaching an expectation. So growing up, which I think really set a lot of us middle-aged people up for like a lot of problems, really did. Speak only when spoken to. Okay, so then you're like, oh, okay, so I can't have an opinion unless somebody asks me for my opinion. Oh my God. Okay. So now there's that, right? So that was told to us, be seen, not heard. Okay. Well, so again, I'm not allowed to talk and open my mouth, right? And then, treat others how you want to be treated. Valid, but don't treat others and expect other people to treat you that way. That's the difference. You can absolutely treat others as you would want them to treat you. Don't bank on them treating you that way. Not everybody, people don't have to treat you that way. They don't have to treat you as accordingly. They don't. That's something you got to get clear. Just because you would doesn't mean that they have to. See, let me repeat that again. Just because you would doesn't mean that they have to. And that's so important for you. All right. If it's not helping you and it's not serving you, stop trying to keep focusing and pushing your agenda for your expectations. This is so important because you say, well, I would call them on their birthday. I would show up. I would help them paint. I would help them move. I would help them do that. Then do it because you choose to do that. Do it because you choose to do it. Don't do it because you are trying to get it in return. Even if you're doing it unintentionally, you're like, of course I would do it. And then, I don't know, a month or two later, you're like, oh, I was having a hard time with this. Do you think you could stop by? No, I can't. I'm busy today. Oh, okay. Like I dropped everything. Okay. You chose that life. You chose to do that. And again, people they are not you. Stop expecting you out of other people. They do not have to do it. It goes back to what I said, right? People don't have to do it just because you would. All right. And I know that that's a tough one for you because you might say, well, I would do this if it was me. Okay. Now we're going into the insecurities. You can't control another person. If they wanted to do something, they would absolutely do it. You don't ever want to force somebody to do something. I promise you don't. Multiple reasons, but one of the reasons is that will breed resentment, right? You don't want somebody to go to therapy for you. You don't want someone to change for you. It will create problems unless they themselves want to also go to the therapy, also make those changes. Then great. But it's not for you to inflict your autobiography onto them either based on expectations. Oh, my life was tough when I did it this way. I'm trying to prevent that person. So now you're stepping in and you're trying to prevent that person from having those hard feelings and those shortcomings and all of those things. They have to have them. You stopping everyone's pain, or first of all, you can't, but you attempting to stop everyone's pain and everyone's journey to be easier is not helping them. Because if you got hit by a bus today, now they have no tools. Now they're like, now you're creating codependency. You think that you're doing them a solid. You're not. All you're doing is you're creating a fictitious world, a fictitious idea of how the world is, number one. And you're also looking at it and you're creating it from such a space that now they don't have the tools and they're under this illusion that you're always going to be there. You're not. You are not permanent. All right. Just because you want something doesn't mean it's going to be that way. Just because you want something doesn't mean it's always in your best interest. And I've always said this, since I've 16 years since I've been practicing Buddhism and I learned it, is be kind because you choose to be kind. Be kind because that's who you are. Don't be kind because all of a sudden everybody must respond accordingly. And then, because then you put up walls. Well, fine. I'm not going to be nice to anybody ever again. Now we get dramatic. I'm never going to put myself out there like that. And we start using those big words, those victim-y words, always and never. And that's not going to benefit you. Now, the other side of that is don't let other people project their expectations upon you. That's why boundaries are important. If their expectations is, or their expectations are, I did this for you. I know you know these people. They do something nice and you're almost like, oh God, please don't do nothing nice for me, because you can't just let it be nice. Like it's gotta come with some kind of a transaction, right? Somebody does something for you and now they're constantly, well, what do you mean you're not coming to the house? You live in the guest house. We're not even charging you rent and you can't come over here. What is this? Now you start feeling like you're obligated. Now you start going, oh my God. Yes, make an effort. Yes, be compassionate, but do not feed into somebody else's expectations. And this is where you're going to have to be okay with distancing yourself and letting them distance from you. Somebody comes in hot on these expectations, like they come in hot. I'm not you. I don't respond that way. Do you see what I mean? But you have to be willing to have these confrontations. They're just you having a voice. Very often the reason that you're not instilling your boundary is because you don't have like I said before, a boundary is nothing without a consequence. I don't want to be talked to that way anymore. So what? What are you going to do if they do? I don't like it. Well, okay. What? Where's the consequence? I don't allow myself to be spoken to that way. And if you continue speaking to me that way, I'm not going to have any more conversations with you. We are no longer going to be in communication. That's the consequence. Now it's up to me to hold that. See, that's why you don't make a boundary or consequences in an emotional state. You know how you're like, you're not going to do this for 6 months. I'm taking your phone. That's not true. You're not going to take the phone for 6 months. You and I both know you're not going to take the phone for 6 months. That's why you don't go and you don't invest into a boundary based on emotions. Boundaries just are. They're like I said in a meme, an electric fence does not warn you. Hey, you, I see you walking over there. Don't walk too close. I'm going to snap you. I'm going to, you're still getting too close. The fence doesn't do that. Electric fence, warning, don't touch the fence. You're going to get electrocuted. One time. Go ahead and touch the fence. You go, oh my God. Now you're mad at the fence. Oh my God, that fence. That's on you, bro. That's on you. You chose that life. You touched it because you wanted to overstep the boundary. You got hit with the consequence. And also the fence isn't screaming and yelling saying, I did this, I did that. The fence says, this is my boundary. That's it. I don't care about the feelings to it. That's what you have to focus on right there. Stop expecting you from people. And because you do that, then you start changing yourself. And then you start like watering yourself down because you're trying to live up to somebody else's expectations. Baby, let them be disappointed. Let them be upset. And that same goes for you. Be upset, be disappointed. But your expectations are causing a problem. When I said no expectations gives you everything, it provides such an amazing space. It teaches people that, you know what? It's okay. Like, I'm allowed to be me too. But there's no expectation. They don't feel obligated. You know, you don't need your adult kids feeling obligated to come for Thanksgiving. If they come, they come. If they don't, they don't. Just because you want them to doesn't mean, and you're allowed to feel like, oh, okay, no big deal. Hopefully I'll see you next week. Guess what? Thanksgiving. So what? You can do Thanksgiving any day. It doesn't have to be Thanksgiving on a special holiday. You're too focused on this is how things go. This is how it is. This is too regimented. You got to stop being regimented. You're focusing way too hard on the regimen. And this is how we do it. Okay, well, not everybody wants to do it that way. And it's okay that they're different. But when you're carrying expectations, then you're getting your feelings hurt. You're getting yourself disappointed. You're putting yourself in that position. Again, not blaming. It's allowing yourself to see the introspective work that you need to do. So you need to ask yourself, pen to pad, what are the expectations that you have and where do they stem from? And no, I don't mean I grew up this way. That's the most biggest cop out. We're not doing that. Where does it come from? Well, because this is what I would do. Okay, so why is that important? Because you're still looking for validation from them that you're worthy enough. Just because they do things differently, they love differently, they react differently, doesn't mean that they love less. You got to get out of your own like ego and headspace of going, well, they just don't care as much as I do. Stop doing that. All right. You're not doing yourself any favors. And the more you carry the expectations, the lonelier and the more distance you're going to become.